So what do you think of when I say the Jersey Devil? Because I bet it's not him. Hi everybody, it's Sarah from Hushed Up History, and if you're from the Northeast, like I am, then you've been hearing about the Jersey Devil forever. But do you know where it all started? We're going to talk about it. It's a very familiar story if you're from the Northeast, and especially if you're from New Jersey. It was a dark and stormy night, and the trees of the New Jersey pine barrens were being rattled by strong winds, and rain pelted down on a small cabin that was about to become chapter 1 of this demonic tale. And it was on this night that Mother Leeds had her 13th child, a baby that she had doomed months before with the declaration of, "Let it be the devil." She got her wish, and when the baby was born, it quickly transformed into a creature with bat-like wings, fur, hooves, and the head of a creature cursed. It then tore through the house, murdering Mother Leeds and anyone else in its path before charging up the chimney, bursting out of the top of it as it flew out into the darkness and into the legend that we all know today. Since the 1700s, the Jersey Devil has been immortalized in New Jersey and beyond, in stories, songs, artwork, and sightings from people claiming to have seen the terrifying creature amid the miles and miles and miles of wilderness in southern New Jersey. In 1677, Daniel Leeds arrived in New Jersey. Born in Kent, England in approximately 1651, he followed his father over to the colony, eventually settling in what is now the region of Burlington. He became a very active participant in his new home. He served as an assemblyman, he was a council member, and he became the second deputy surveyor of West New Jersey. Among all of this, Leeds was also a writer, and in 1687 he compiled and authored the country's first almanac. And that is where all the problems started. Leeds was a Quaker, and some of the information that he put in his almanac did not sit well at all with the Quaker faith. Inside some of the pages, he included information about astrology and referred to the planets by their heathen Greco-Roman names. The Quakers were adamantly against astrology. So when Leeds published another book the following year entitled The Temple of Wisdom, where he talked about astrology, devils, and mysticism, that was entirely too much for the Quaker community to take. The Quaker community completely denounced Leeds' work, calling him a heathen, burning copies of his work, and generally spreading the idea that he was evil. And while the mysticism was the major part of this, Leeds did not help his case by being an adamant supporter of the British Crown. Both of these factors ensured that the Quakers' venom towards Leeds ran deep and was long-standing. But Leeds did not take kindly to this. Leeds went ahead and left the Quakers, joined the Anglican Church, and once again turned to the written word, this time printing a series of pamphlets speaking out against the Quakers. In 1699, he completed a manifesto speaking out against his former community with the lengthy title of "A Trumpet Sounded Out of the Wilderness of America, which may serve as a warning to the government and people of England to beware of Quakerism, wherein is shewed the great contradiction of the Quakers, both in their former and latter writings." The following year, the Quakers responded with their own work, and with the title of it, they officially tied Daniel Leeds to the devil. The work was entitled Satan's Harbinger Encountered, being something by way of answers to Daniel Leeds. When Daniel Leeds died in 1720, it did not mean the end of the almanac. 4 years prior to his death, he handed publication over to his son, Titan Leeds, who, in an attempt to make it more personalized, decided to start putting their family crest on the cover. This was not helpful at all, because the Leeds family crest included some images of birds, but the way they were drawn made them look like creatures that had wings and horns. You're not helping yourself. You are not helping yourself out at all. By this point, the Leeds Almanac had been in publication for over 30 years, but a young up-and-coming printer had his eyes on that almanac, and it was not to read it. It was to take it down. 26-year-old Benjamin Franklin was already very familiar with the world of printing, having started as an apprentice in a print shop at 12 years old and becoming partial owner of the Philadelphia Gazette in 1729. And on December 19, 1732, he launched his latest project, an almanac, the Poor Richard's Almanac, written by him under the pen name Poor Richard Saunders. This almanac was a volume for everyone and included things like a calendar, poems, stories, advice, weather predictions, trivia, and one volume in particular where he predicted the death of Titan Leeds, saying that Titan Leeds was going to die on October 17, 1733 at 3:29 p.m. Titan Leeds did not appreciate that. No, not at all, and he fired back in his publication, calling Franklin a conceited scribbler and a liar. These words had absolutely zero effect on Ben Franklin, who went on in his next almanac to state that his prediction was correct, but considering there were still words being written by Titan Leeds, it obviously was being written by his ghost. As stated by Franklin in his next volume, having received much abuse from the ghost of Titan Leeds, who pretends to still be living and to write almanacs in spite of me and my predictions, I cannot help but say that though I take it patiently, I take it unkindly. He continued to say that the death of Titan Leeds had to be obvious because it was, quote, plain to everyone that reads his last two almanacs, no man living would or could write such stuff. The war of the two almanacs continued for years, but the publicity and the sales overwhelmingly went to Franklin's Poor Richard's Almanac, only further souring the image of the Leeds family. And when Titan Leeds did die in 1738, the words did not stop from Franklin. And in the 1740 issue of the Almanac, Franklin included a cartoon showing Poor Richard and the ghost of Titan Leeds going up his nose, specifically to tell him, quote, I did actually die at that moment, precisely at the hour you mentioned, with a variation of 5 minutes and 53 seconds. The association of the Leeds family and the devil was started by the Quakers in the late 1600s, but that tie did not disappear after the death of Daniel Leeds, Titan Leeds, or any member of the Leeds family that was alive at the time the association was first made. According to the legend, the Jersey Devil was born in the 1730s, and somehow, slowly and steadily, the stories of the beast became saturated into the Pine Barrens, with people claiming to have seen the swooping, screeching, terrifying beast inhabiting those woods. Even Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's brother, claimed to have encountered the Jersey Devil in the Pine Barrens in 1820. He says he shot the beast with a cannon and that it did absolutely nothing. To some degree, you can always expect to find stories of the unknown and the mysterious settled deep into the woods. But in 1859, Atlantic Monthly reporter W.F. Mayer was visiting the Pine Barrens for an assignment, and he spoke to a woman who told him her first-hand encounter with the beast. She told the reporter that the creature was unquestionably real. She had seen it, and that it was the Leeds Devil that had lived in the Pine Barrens since born to Mother Leeds a century earlier. He published a story about the Leeds Devil, and when the words went public, the people started coming forward. People claimed to have been chased by the Jersey Devil, or that they had chased the beast away themselves after it decimated their livestock. People said they saw it in the trees, they heard it screeching in the darkness, and people reported finding fresh hoof prints in the snow on their roof. The popularity and notoriety of the Jersey Devil grew steadily, but from January 16th to the 23rd, 1909, suddenly a flurry of reports started coming in from Delaware, Camden, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and beyond. Suddenly, police officers and firemen from all over were claiming that they had seen the Jersey Devil and that guns and fire hoses had zero effect. Suddenly, schools started closing early or not opening at all to prevent students from being attacked, and mill workers started to voice their concerns about having to walk through the woods to get to and from work. A trolley car full of people in Haddon Heights reported that they were attacked in broad daylight, and another woman claimed that she fought the Jersey Devil off with a broom after her dog encountered it in her backyard. And when the fear of the Jersey Devil was at its height, a man named Norman Jeffries saw an opportunity. Claiming to have captured the Jersey Devil after a terrific struggle, Jeffries advertised that he would be putting the creature on display in Philadelphia. And when the curious masses showed up to see this fearsome beast that had been terrorizing the New Jersey Pine Barrens and beyond, they were presented with a kangaroo. A kangaroo with stripes painted in his fur and wearing a brand new set of homemade wings. This prank from Jeffries did not sway public opinion on the legitimacy of the Jersey Devil. And while the fever pitch has died down, the belief and the reports of this creature of the Pine Barrens has never disappeared. Today, the story of Mother Leeds and her demon baby are more popular than ever, with the Jersey Devil being forever immortalized in songs, films, festivals, and New Jersey's only major sports team, the NHL's New Jersey Devils. When Daniel Leeds moved to New Jersey, he more than likely envisioned an active and peaceful life for himself in his new home after firmly planting roots intended for his family and for generations to come. And his name absolutely does live on, but not for reasons that he ever would have imagined, like getting into a brawl with the Quakers, being called an instrument of Satan, his son getting into a very public brawl with a future founding father of the United States, and being inextricably linked to a demon creature who would terrorize his homeland for centuries to come. Thanks for joining me in this story about the Jersey Devil and Benjamin Franklin. And if you like this type of thing, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, because there are so many more stories to tell.
What's up, Phantoms? I hope you're enjoying the show, and if you are, do me a favor and hit the bell so you don't miss an upload. Also, hit the subscribe button so you can help our channel grow. After that, head over to phantomforensics.com and purchase a digital download package. Some of those packages even come with really nice physical goodies. Every single package that is purchased helps go towards making a new episode of Phantom Forensics. And guess what? We can't do it without your support. So please head over to phantomforensics.com right now and get your digital download package.
Okay, I know. Coffins, not supposed to have wheels. No wheels on the coffins. I get it, I understand. But hear me out for a second. Hi everybody, it's Sarah from Hushed Up History, and you put a coffin somewhere, it's supposed to stay in place. That's the idea. Sometimes ideas don't work out. Or they really do. Part of the San Juan mountain range in western Colorado, Red Mountain is a sight to behold. Towering approximately 13,000 feet, the rock here is rich with iron, creating a natural color palette of reds, yellows, and sometimes hues of purple. The mountains and the mineral springs have made it an important destination for centuries, and the Native American population believed that the bubbling of the mineral springs there was the breath of the Great Spirit. And when the town of Manitou Springs was founded in 1872 by General William Palmer and Dr. William Bell, it was founded as a health resort, attracting numbers of people looking to either gain or maintain their health with the mineral springs, the high altitudes, and the fresh mountain air. The mountains played a very important role in people's lives, and they were cherished by those living around them. But few people claimed as deep of a connection to them as Emma. Emma Crawford was in her early 20s when she moved from Massachusetts to this mountainous region of Colorado. She traveled there with her mother, a music teacher and an accomplished piano player who impressed the value of music on Emma at a very early age. By the age of 3, Emma's favorite activity was listening to her mother play the works of the old masters on their piano, preferring that to any toy that was placed in front of her. And by the age of 12, she was playing multiple recitals and teaching music lessons of her own. When she was a teenager, she would often play pianos at shows, accompanying any renowned violin or cello player that happened to be traveling through the area. When she wasn't playing piano, she was picking up other instruments, and she did so with ease, quickly becoming skilled at not just piano, but violin, cello, mandolin, and viola. Emma's future in music seemed bright, but when she and her mother moved from Massachusetts to Colorado, it was not to enhance her music career, it was to heal her. Manitou Springs was founded as a health resort, and by the time Emma and her mother began renting their home there, Emma had already been suffering with what is suspected to be tuberculosis for many years. Thousands of people moved to the mountains in hope of regaining their health, and the Crawfords were among them, completely uprooting their lives in the hope of extending them for many years. If music was her first love, a close second was her love of nature, and she was particularly fond of Red Mountain. She claimed that she had a Native American spirit guide who protected her family, but also beckoned her to climb to the top of her beloved mountain. Emma 100% intended on going through with this, but when she told her mother, her friends, and her fiancé, William Hildebrand, of her plan, they pleaded with her not to go through with it, telling her that the reason she was in Manitou Springs was because she was ill, and the last thing she should be doing is climbing a mountain. But she didn't listen, and it did not stop her. It was very late one evening when Emma returned home, and her mother and fiancé asked her where she had been, and she told them the truth. Earlier in the day, she had seen her mother teaching a piano lesson, and she saw this as her opportunity to sneak out undetected and make her way to the mountain that called her name. It was very hard for people to believe that Emma had actually climbed the mountain, but she insisted that she did and that she left proof, telling her friends and family, quote, "I did so climb it, and I tied my scarf to the little pine tree on the summit. And I've decided that I will be buried beneath that tree." The next day, one of Emma's friends climbed the mountain, and sure enough, they found the pine tree, her red scarf tied to it, and her footprints were still visible, showing her journey to and from. Her saying that she wanted to be buried on the mountain was not new. This is something that she had stated previously to her family. And although picking a spot might sound like a morbid form of motivation for the climb, it didn't come out of nowhere. Emma had moved to Manitou Springs to find a cure for her illness, and it was not proving successful. She loved nature and being out in the sunshine and fresh air of the mountains. This, combined with her absolute hatred of cemeteries, made this an obvious decision. And it was one that unfortunately had to be carried out soon thereafter. Emma Crawford died on December 4th, 1891 at approximately 10:30 p.m., and her obituary stated, quote, "The few who knew her here remarked her calm, unruffled mood, and though her life was such that intimates were few, she was known by nearly all as a musician of rare power and skill." Her funeral was held on December 8th, and it was attended by an eclectic group of people that all knew Emma from various parts of her life. Her mother played piano throughout the service, and when that service came to an end, the obvious next step was committing Emma to her final place of rest. But this was not going to be an easy task. When Emma came down from the mountain that day, she made her wishes crystal clear. She had tied her red scarf to the specific pine tree that she wanted to be buried under, so that she could spend all of eternity surrounded by the landscape that she loved. Her friends and family knew that they had no choice. One way or another, Emma was going up the mountain. Her casket was taken by a hearse to the base of the mountain, and a team of 12 pallbearers worked in turn, carrying it up to the peak. They found her selected tree and buried her, covering her grave with a layer of rocks. This should have been the end of the story of Emma Crawford, a young woman who died way too soon and who was buried in her favorite spot due to the sheer feats of strength and will of her pallbearers. However, in 1912, the plan to install a power station on the mountain put her grave directly in the path of construction. Her body was exhumed, and she was reburied on the opposite side of the mountain, in a very haphazardly dug grave. In August of 1929, two boys playing on Red Mountain got the shock of their lives when they found a human skull nestled amid the rocks. They went to the authorities, who then conducted a search of the area, and they found more bones and a metal handle. The boys were questioned, but everything became clear when the investigators found a metal plate etched with the name Emma L. Crawford. Emma loved the mountain. It was her favorite place, but after her second burial, her remains fell victim to the environment. And after years of rain and erosion, her coffin and her body became dislodged from her grave and slid down the mountainside. By now, there were no living family members to claim the pieces of Emma Crawford, and her remains were moved to City Hall. They stayed there for 2 years until one of her former pallbearers took responsibility for burying her a third time. This time, though, it was not on Red Mountain, and she was buried in an unmarked grave in the nearby Crystal Valley Cemetery. Emma Crawford lay at rest for approximately 70 years before her name started coming up in conversation again. The Chamber of Commerce in Manitou Springs was looking for ways to boost tourism, and with a story as unusual as Emma's, they decided to make her and her tale a little more well-known. And in 1995, they launched their brand new event, the Emma Crawford Coffin Races. Every year in October, groups of 4 to 6 people decorate their own racing coffin and get dressed up in costume before all meeting at the end of Manitou Avenue. And when the time comes, they race down the avenue and up a hill to victory. Prizes are given to different categories, including fastest time, best entourage, best coffin, and best Emma. This race, along with a festival and a parade of hearses in the name of Emma Crawford, has become one of the area's most treasured Halloween traditions. In 2004, Manitou Springs granted Emma Crawford a memorial gravestone on Red Mountain in the approximate area where it was believed her first burial took place. But, like her multiple burials, she has multiple memorials, and in 2023, a memorial was placed for her on Manitou Avenue, the same stretch of road where thousands of people now gather every year to honor her with their homemade coffin races.